Now, can you share the process you take your clients through?
Mm. So the first thing we do is figure out their Enneagram type, because that very much sort of guides us as to how to work together, what are the kind of wounds we're looking for, and what are the patterns that might be keeping your creativity in. And so I'll give you an example of one of my clients who's a type 9. And type 9s are the ones we described as looking for harmony. They want to avoid conflict. And so they want to be very calm internally and have a very calm external environment. They've sort of got this very sort of friendly air. Some people think that means they're not hardworking. Nines are actually very hardworking, but on the one thing that matters to them. So if creativity matters to them, they're going to forget about it in order to do what the people around them want or need or is important to others in order to keep the peace. And so with my 9 client, we were identifying that pattern, and she does creative work. And so then what is it that we see happening when she tries to do her own creativity? And 9s are body types. Really focus what's happening in your body as you try to do this. Where are you trying to calm? Where is the anger? Because 9s have they go to sleep to their anger. And so in this sort of using these centers of intelligence and understanding it, we started using a screaming practice to try and access and release that anger and to bring more energy back into her body so she had the energy to do her creative work. But you can see how individual that is. And so for a different type, a head type or a heart type, the body-based screaming practice may not work as well. And so we have to take a different approach.
I see. So it depends on the Enneagram number. Now, say there's the 2, like for me, it was a number 7 and then I'm a number 5. Number 5, is that an investigator? Investigator? The investigator thinker?
Yes. So those are both head types. They're both analytical, but they're taking different approaches to things. So we'll just focus on the type 7 because that was the one you tested as the highest.
97%. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the sevens are generally described as being creative because they break the rules a lot. They don't want to be trapped or limited in any way. And they're always looking for ways to have freedom. What sevens don't necessarily realize is the more they try and push to have freedom, and what they mean by that is to not make any choices, actually the less choices they have. So the constant pursuit of freedom means you end up with no freedom. And what they're trying to avoid is pain and suffering and limitations and being trapped in some way. And so it's taking the understanding of that, what they're pushing away from, and seeing in what way they're trying to be creative and how is that tying into how they're self-sabotaging their creative work and what's happening there. And it's really looking at the two together. So the process really for me is, where are you at in your creative process? What are you trying to achieve? What's your Enneagram type? Where are you undermining yourself? And finding that sort of sweet spot where we can start to create more space in the personality, in the ego structure, because we need to confront a little bit, we need to both befriend our ego and confront it to start to create space and break the hold it has on us to some extent.
Right. No, I love that. I love that. Yes. And whatever you said about the 7 is correct. Like, I like freedom. I don't like to be stuck in one thing only. I like trying everything. That's where the creativity side comes out too. So I know you have a lot of success stories. I'm sure you do. Is there one particular one that you're just like, oh, wow, this is the one I need to share to everybody after they've worked with you?
The client I was mentioning earlier about with the screaming practice, for her, she was experiencing, I work with a lot of people with chronic illnesses as well, because people don't always realize, and I'm not saying you have chronic illness solely because you're not expressing your creativity, but I find in the healing process, usually being able to, if we don't feel able to express our true self, our authentic self in some way, then the body is going to be very stressed and hold on to that contraction in some form. And if that happens for long enough, it generally results into some kind of physical illness or, addictive coping mechanism, because our bodies are designed to express themselves in a number of ways. And so for me, part of my recovery process involved intense painting for 4 years, but it also involved sorting out my digestive system, doing a lot of meditation, meeting with the therapist to do emotional work. So it's, recovery is a multi-part, multi-system process. But for this particular client, once we started doing the screaming practice, she found that her, unexplained pain would go away. She started to realize how creativity was a spiritual practice, and it started to become easier to do. And we set up new beliefs and new systems to make it more just a part of her life, and create more space for it to happen.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.